Hello and welcome to Hawk Mountain Sanctuary's Stay-at-Home Speaker Series. Today's program is Happy Cinco de Mayo from Veracruz River of Raptors with a very special guest, Kashmir Wolf, Veracruz River of Raptors Bird Monitoring Coordinator.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Kashmir.
Thank you for the invitation.
My name is Jamie Dawson. I'm the Director of Education at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary. And joining me is Dr. Lori Goodrich, Hawk Mountain's Director of Conservation Science.
Hi, everybody.
We are so glad that you're joining us today to celebrate Cinco de Mayo and to learn about the largest raptor migration in the world at Veracruz, Mexico. As you may know, Hawk Mountain is the world's very first refuge for birds of prey, and we continue to work hard to be leaders in raptor conservation, science, and education, locally and globally around the world. Hawk Mountain is a private nonprofit, and membership is the lifeblood of our organization. To all of our members, thank you so very much for your continued support. And if you're joining us today and you're not a member, we hope that you consider becoming one in the future. Hawk Mountain hopes that everyone remains safe and healthy during this time of COVID crisis, and we're so excited to offer our community a variety of free virtual programming. As always, Hawk Mountain greatly appreciates any donations. Just so everyone is aware, today's program is being recorded. The video will then be accessible on Hawk Mountain's YouTube channel. We also have the link on our website directly connecting you to our YouTube channel. At any time during today's program, viewers may submit questions through the Q&A feature on the Zoom platform, and we designated time at the end of the program to take some questions from the audience. You are in for a treat today. First, Kashmir is going to teach us about the history behind Cinco de Mayo, and then we're going to learn about the Veracruz River of Raptor project. Next, we are going to have a special screening of the documentary film River of Raptors, and the film is about 25 minutes. After the film is when we have time to take some questions from the audience. So Lori, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Jamie. Well, we are so excited here at Hawk Mountain to have Kashmir Wolf with us today, all the way from Veracruz, Mexico, for our Cinco de Mayo celebration here at Hawk Mountain. Before we get going, I'd like to share a little information with the audience about Kashmir. Kashmir has a degree in biology from the University of Veracruz. He first joined the River Raptors project in 2008, I believe, as a counter first, but he now serves as Jamie said, as the monitoring and tourism coordinator for the entire project. So he oversees all the raptor counts and waterbird counts and manages the data set. For the rest of the year, he's heavily involved with other bird survey work for many of the other Printura conservation projects. And he's worked conducting bird surveys throughout Mexico, Central America, and the United States. So a wide experience with birds. And we were very fortunate in 2010 to have Kashmir at Hawk Mountain for the fall season as a trainee, where he worked with the staff and expanded his knowledge of raptor conservation science. So we're just thrilled to have him back here for this program. He also has obtained his certification as a guide for the National Association of Interpretation. And as he oversees the River Raptors tour program, he's also helping me organize our 2021 Hawk Mountain tour. So if anyone after this program is interested in that, there'll be information on our website. So before we get going though, Kashmir, I was curious, and I'm sure the group would like to hear, how did you first get interested in birds and raptors?
So I used to start with, there was a group of birders from the Veracruz State University that arrived to my town and to my dad's place. He has a small reserve, and they started like coming back several times, and I started getting curious about that. So once they put the binoculars on my face, everything changed. And then I started like learning by myself and asking questions to those guys. and they also give me binoculars for a month or 2 months. So I start making my own checklist of the birds on my house. So that was the very moment of that.
That's awesome.
Like
So that
when I
was
was
before you
11
went to
years
the
old.
university. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you know, it's always interesting to find out how people get involved with birds to start. But I know we have a lot on our plate today, so why don't we just go right to your program?
All right. So this presentation is about the Veracruz River Raptors, and it's gonna be a brief story about the Cinco de Mayo. So this is Cinco de Mayo is commemorates one of the battles won by the Mexican forces in 1862, but it wasn't the final battle. So just was one, but a very big one for that time, and that's what we celebrate mostly in Puebla, Mexico. But yeah. So happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone. I hope everything is doing well. So where was the battle? The battle was, as we say, in Puebla, but begins also in Veracruz. You can see here in the map where we are, like where is Mexico City, where is Puebla, and this is where we are in that circle. That was the area of the battle because we're several. So the main reason after the Civil War, Mexico was in very bad shape with mainly bad economically. So the President Juarez, he sent a message about stopping the payment of the debts for 2 years to Spain, England, and France. And the first two they accept, but France, they didn't. So France started making some movements to make this to intervention of Mexico. So in the 19th of April, France started the first battles in Orizaba after the arrival. Veracruz City was like the gate to the old world. And the first battles begins in Orizaba near the mountains. And here in this map, you can see where the River Raptors is. And the first start to the right with the 5th of March, that's the Veracruz City. They moved to Cordova area, then to Orizaba. And from there until the 4th of May, they arrived close to the Puebla gates until the next morning when they begin the battle. So the history tells that the battle begins at 10:30 a.m. with around 5,000 soldiers. And of course, the Mexicans was also a very big group of warrior soldiers from at least 6 battalions that start pushing back the French. So after the middle of the battle, by the late in the day, they were like very dismissed in numbers. And the last thing was a hailstorm that stops completely the battle, and the French decide like we gotta go. And that didn't last long, the return from the French, because they arrived with more warriors, more soldiers 2 years later. And unfortunately, the Mexicans couldn't resist, and we had Emperor Maximiliano de Habsburgo ruling the country for a couple of years until he died, killed by the resistance in June of 1867. So in these days, now we celebrate with parades or with festivals, principal in Puebla City and in some other states that were involved in that battle. And this is what we can see. Probably this year they didn't do it because of the situation, but that's the main situation every year during the Cinco de Mayo. So 125 years later, after the 5th of May battle in 1987, there was some friends that started arriving to the Central Coast and observing migration and big numbers. They knew about other places, but they just started making questions. And by 1991, ProNatura, Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, and HawkWatch International joined forces to start studying this phenomenon here in Veracruz. So until like all the studies conducted from the 91 to 94 were the studies that led to the discovery of these big numbers of the migration. So the biggest corridor of raptor migration on the planet, with 5 million raptors placed in average every season. So the Veracruz area where we are is a place with a lot of historical monuments, and the cities by itself, like close to Chicaxlet, there is another historical place as well. So all the area, the Antigua River, everything, like if you come to Veracruz, to this area, you will meet a lot of cultural. And right now, after that Scaffold platform that you saw in the previous became this is our observatory that we have now, where we receive visitors and conduct environmental education activities as well. So at this time, we have active resistance with other NGOs against mining projects that want to set up near the mountains that make the bottleneck. We have land protection for protecting bird areas, like stopovers. We have the data open for research. We have some theses. We have some students from master's or bachelor's degree. We have bird festivals. More than 100 observers have been involved with the River Raptors. Also Hawk Mountain interns. We have around 9 and could be 12 by this year. And decades of environmental education as well. And this is one example, Yumei Cabrera, she was an intern in 1999, and now she's still with us with ProNatura since pretty much the beginning of the project. Also, some people will probably know about Dr. Ernesto Ruelas, who was the founder as well with HawkWatch and Hawk Mountain back in the 1990s. And yeah, this is a place that pretty much, I'm sure, has more than 100 million birds counted so far. And the main species that gathers that, 95% of those numbers are Mississippi kites, broadwings, swainsons, and turkey vultures. And you can see in this graph the timing for them. So the first ones you want to see Mississippi kites come in August, and you will see them later. September is the peak for broadwing hawks, follow the beginning of October until the middle by the Swainson's hawk that makes very nice kettles, very great views. And then the last ones are the turkey vultures. But surrounding all those migrants, we have a big diversity of other species. We pretty much count everything that moves, that flies over the Veracruz skies in this migration. So from big sea seals, storks, pelicans, and the other raptor species that we know are migrating. And all the data, if it doesn't go to one place, goes to another. So this is, most of the data goes every day to eBird, and the raptor particulate data goes to Hawk Count, which is the Hamana site, which also feeds the raptor population index to make the analysis trends of what's going on in these sites. So, and how this project, like, it's easy to tell what we do, but yeah, it takes a lot of time, effort, and the main funding is by doing birding tours, as Lori said in the beginning, donations, that is another big portion. And I want to special thanks to all the donors that have supported every year the River Raptors, because it's a lot of help and very important. And another way is the grants that sometimes, because this project is monitoring and not many sites supports monitoring by itself. So thank you everyone that has been involved. And yeah, if you want to join the River Raptors tour next year during the fall, you can go to Hawk Mountain website and check it in. You will see pretty much something like this picture, mixed flocks. You will see another like orioles flying by, some resident birds, some cool places like this one that is in the shore. You will be watching shorebirds and other local species by watching the migration on the sky. And of course, aplomados. And other way to support this project is by donations. So if you go to the Veracruz River of Raptors.org website, you can have information about what we do and also have the opportunity to donate, which will be highly appreciated by us. So thank you. And yeah, if you have particular questions, that is my email below. And go visit the website and follow us in the Facebook as well. And also you can ask about us directly with Hawk Mountain staff. So after this, we wanna see the film. This film is about the Veracruz raptor migration, and it shows some of the work conducted by ProNatura mainly. And there are gonna be some, it's gonna be translations. Also there is English speaking and Spanish speaking, and it's gonna last 25 minutes. And after that, we're gonna have the question season. All right, so just 1 second.
Thank you, Kashmir. That was such a wonderful presentation, and the film was so inspiring. So thank you for sharing that. We do want to apologize. We knew some of the film was so inspiring. So thank you for sharing that. We do want to apologize. We knew some of the words had some difficulty. So it seems we were having some technical difficulties with Zoom with the feedback. So we apologize. No. It seemed to just cleared up. But again, we apologize for anyone that wasn't able to fully view the video. It seems to just cleared up. But again, we apologize for anyone that wasn't able to just fully view the video. Okay.
Yeah, I want a special thanks to Erendira Martinez Hernandez. She was the producer of the documentary. So thank Erendira for doing this for the project.
Wonderful. Well, we have some questions from the audience. So the first question is, are there any bald or golden eagles in Veracruz? So the first question is, are there any bald or golden eagles in Veracruz?
Golden eagles? Yes, we have every other year a couple of, sometimes one golden, or another years we have another bald eagle as well. But for them, they're juveniles. So the most likely is they're watching the big groups of raptors moving south, and because they're juveniles, they probably don't know who to follow, and they just follow the wrong flock, bringing them to the south. And yeah, we have some pictures of bald eagles. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, another question. Do the hawks stay in Veracruz all winter and breed there, or are they moving on? Another question. Do the hawks stay in Veracruz all winter and breed there, or are they moving on?
Most of them move, but we have some like exhibitors. Many stay around and chasing pigeons in the parks. And we have seen also some Mississippi kites south Veracruz as well. So yeah, there is a few that stay, but most of them, they keep going south and using Veracruz as stopovers along the way.
Thank you. Do you meet many Hawk Mountain trainees at the count site? Thank you. Do you meet many Hawk Mountain trainees at the count site?
Yes, we have met a few, and yes, I have hired a couple others. and many of them, they are from Veracruz area, and they know about Hawk Mountain because everybody talks about Hawk Mountain, and then we make the connection, and they apply, and that's why it happened.
Thank you. So someone else was commenting about how wonderful and informative the film was, and the question is, do northern goshawks also travel through as well? And informative the film was, and the question is, do northern goshawks also travel through as well?
Can you repeat the question?
Do northern goshawks travel through as well? Do northern goshawks travel through as well?
Yeah, there have been some difficulties with the goshawks, but at least we have a couple of sightings and reports of goshawks, and as well, same story, juveniles, because they normally they don't go this far south. But yeah, there's some reports of goshawks in Veracruz as well.
And a follow-up question about the goshawks: are their numbers declining or are they remaining steady? And a follow-up question about the goshawks: are their numbers declining or are they remaining steady?
This is a good question. So we have noticed, for example, that numbers of Mississippi kites are increasing, but the numbers of Swainson's hawk are decreasing. And this is interesting because they both share kind of the same feeding behavior, and that will be a nice question to start answering in the close future. But yeah, we have noticed that the global average remains the same, but the difference between the species is that those are changing. We have also noticed a big increase of peregrine falcons, for example, being from 200 and now we count around 900, for example.
Thank you. Now we have a question about banding stations. How many banding stations are there? And now we have a question about banding stations. How many banding stations are there, and are raptors recaptured at different stations?
We have regularly one banding station. The one you saw in the film is the official and the permanent banding station so far. And sometimes if the funding is enough, we can open one close, a little bit, 2 kilometers away in the mountain, one of the closest mountain that makes this bottleneck. And that one is really nice, catching another burials than accipiters, which is the we call nitidus, the one in Cansaburro, close to the sand dunes.
If people want to watch the film River of Raptors again, how can they watch that film? How can they access it? To watch the film River of Raptors again, how can they watch that film? How can they access it?
So right now that film has been in festivals, and because of rules to apply for some festivals, they required not available in the internet. So probably next year will be available, but we need to wait a little bit. And of course, privately, we screen the film in places here in Veracruz, and as well Hawk Mountain. You have the film, and Hawk Mountain has been screened as well. But yeah, for open will be probably next year, in the next 2 coming years.
Thank you. Next, we have a question for Dr. Goodrich. Lori, how did you get involved in leading trips to Veracruz? Question for Dr. Goodrich. Lori, how did you get involved in leading trips to Veracruz?
Well, I worked with Ernesto Ruelas early on.
I worked with
to found the project
early on.
So early on, we decided one of the ways we could provide funding for the monitoring and education
we decided one of the ways we could
provide funding for the monitoring and education was by doing tours. So actually Hawk Mountain led the very first ever
was by doing tours. So actually Hawk Mountain,
I think it was in 1994.
Ever eco tour to Veracruz. I think it was in 1994.
Okay. So we have a question about migration from south to north for the spring. Do the birds? So we have a question about migration from south to north for the spring. Do the birds take the spring pattern?
So the birds, like we used to have a count during the spring, but because of funding, wasn't able to keep it as the one in the fall. But at least we know that the migration spreads out a little bit more than during the fall. But still, we have count around 1 million raptors during the spring. And those do not pass a lot by the coast. They go more inland, like we'll say between 30 kilometers from the coast, when normally is 15 or 10, depending on where you are. But yeah, they fly even in Jalapa, like up in the mountains. We have seen a lot of flocks migrating in these areas in the mountains, where during the fall that doesn't happen. It happens, but it's rare.
Thank you. And Kashmir, let's try, can you try if you are able to mute yourself while Rory and I are talking, that might help with the feedback. Let's try that. If you are able to mute yourself while Rory and I are talking, that might help with the feedback. Let's try that. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. So another question about the eagles. Where do the bald and golden eagles go in the winter if not passing Veracruz? So I don't know if Lori, if you're the best to answer this one, or Kashmir.
So about the eagles,
So I don't know if Lori, if you're the best to answer this one, or Kashmir.
Yeah, we have some sightings south of the count sites, and there is a big like grass. There's a big grasslands. Once you pass that new volcanic belt, it opens until Los Tuxtlas, which is very south of Veracruz. If you remember the map, Veracruz is like a long strip on the Gulf of Mexico. And there is a big flat area where those eagles has been spotted. And there's some pictures even of those. But yeah, they keep going, but we don't know exactly how far. There is some also sightings near the Istmos, like close to Oaxaca, the Oaxaca area, where it has been seen as well.
Thank you. So we have some more questions. What are some challenges in Mexico for migratory birds? For example, environmental challenges, social challenges, economic challenges. What are some of the main challenges for migratory birds in Mexico?
So it's a bit of most of what you just tell, but the loss of habitat is one of the main factors, because there has been a lot of agriculture. Like for example, in Veracruz, we were a very big producers of sugarcane. And what happened is people, even in the mangroves, remove area and to plant sugarcane. And that happened from the cloud forest to the shore. Like we can see hundreds and thousands of hectares converted from the forest turned into sugarcane plantations. And that happened with other plantations in the country. And that's one of the main threats. We have seen turkey vultures and raptors being perched on the floor because there is no place to roost on during this the raptor migration in the fall. So that's one of the main problems. Poaching and other things are less So yeah, I would say habitat loss will be the main factor as so far we can see.
Thank you. And one last question. We have so many good questions. I apologize, we don't have time for them all, but it's related to the previous question. What happens with the Veracruz airport during the migration?
Yeah, this is also a good question because it's gonna link to something that I'm gonna say. So the Veracruz airport, we know they track also our numbers, and what Veracruz have is that the migration, the wind has changed in the last decade, and it used to be northwest wind, and now we have pretty much east. So the birds has been pushed early morning, like by midday, they start getting pushed inland, and they're gonna be away from the Veracruz airport. And also Veracruz airport is a really small airport that do not have like hundreds of flights a day. So that also makes less impact. But yeah, the wind, I think, is a good factor to avoid fatalities, because it's putting away the birds, the raptors. But I mean, there is many other species that are more related to shore than the raptors by itself that can be affected.
Thank you so much, Kashmir. Lori, did you have any final comments before we close?
Yes, just quickly, and thank you so much, Kashmir. That was excellent. Yeah, Hawk Mountain has a mission of conserving raptors worldwide. But in order to conserve these raptors that we all care about, we really need to understand what they need and the threats that they face throughout their life cycle. So that includes understanding what they're doing on migration, on wintering grounds, as well as breeding grounds. And one of our most numerous raptors that we see at Hawk Mountain is the broadwing hawk. And in fact, that's the most numerous raptor that people see on migration throughout the eastern North America. 95%, as was said in the film or earlier, 95% of all broadwing hawks that exist in the world migrate through Veracruz. So what's happening there, this increasing sugarcane and other things going on are central to what we care about, which is the raptors that pass over Hawk Mountain and elsewhere. In addition to that, of course, as was mentioned, almost all the Mississippi kites, almost all the Swainson's hawks that exist in the world are also passing through this region. So it's incredibly important to continue to partner with this site. And I'm just so thankful for all the work that the Veracruz staff are doing and continue to do. The education that's going on there with the school kids. As you can see today, they have this wonderful observatory where people are coming, and when we go down there, you see groups of Mexican folks there, but 25 years ago, it was just, one or two bird watchers. So we are seeing the change happening on the ground with people's attitudes. And this is what Hawk Mountain has been doing for 85 years. So we're very, very, very thankful for all the work being done there.
Thank you so much. So again, Kashmir, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. We really enjoyed it. And throughout the program, we had people sending greetings and saludos from Mexico and all over the United States. So thank you, Kashmir. Thank you to our wonderful audience for joining us. We really appreciate it. And again, apologies to anyone who wasn't able to view the video well. We have more virtual programming coming up soon. Stay tuned. This Wednesday, tomorrow, May 6th, we have Migration Madness at 1 o'clock. On Saturday, May 9th, we have Digging for Answers, Uncovering Mysteries of the Florida Burrowing Owl. That's at 1 o'clock. On Wednesday, May 13th, we have Citizen Science and You at 1 o'clock. And on Friday, May 15th, we have Raptor ID for Beginners. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again soon. Nos vemos pronto. Hasta luego. Hasta luego.